What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Willpower Podcast. Before I formally introduce my guest, I just want to remind everybody to please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Now, with that, I am beyond honored to have one of my favorite artists. I'm new to art, so for me, it's still a big compliment because I'll honestly say you're my favorite artist. You are known as the Blind Eye Artist. You have a documentary on Amazon Prime, Justin Wadlington. You are born and raised in Southwest Philadelphia. You're a poet, an artist, and most importantly, you're an inspiration. So I just want to say welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Before I even get into it,
I like how you added poet in there. Thank you.
I have to. Absolutely, man. Before I really get into it, I want to provide a bit of a visual for listeners that don't quite know who you are and not familiar with your work. I'm going to give a quick shout out to two of your art pieces that I'm a huge fan of. Goat Talk, which you can see right above my head on the recording, and Adoration of Kobe Bryant. So I had to give a big shout out to two of my favorite pieces. That one right behind you right there. I love it. So through my research and honestly through my podcast, a lot of the guests that I have on, I give a bit of a background of the guests with the introduction. With you, as you notice, all I said was born and raised in Philadelphia. Southwest Philadelphia, and it doesn't quite feel right for me to say your origin story. I would love for it to come from you. So if you don't mind, share a bit about your upbringing and who you are.
Born in the 80s. My grandmother, she raised my sister. I have a sister. My mother had schizophrenia, so I was never raised by my mother. My dad actually committed suicide when I was like 2 years old. So I wasn't raised by my dad either. Times I've been in like shelters. You know, as a young kid, I might have lost the first home I was at growing up, and then we was in a shelter for a little bit. Then we ended up moving to Southwest Philly from West Philly. So I might have been like 3 years old at this, 3 or 4. Spent most of my time in Southwest Philly. I was at a daycare playing around at the age of 5 years old, and that's the origin story of my eye. Playing around at a daycare like any normal kid would do, and there was like this wall with a coat rack behind it, and I guess the hangers and metal was poking out, and I was playing tag. I looked back, and then I looked again, and then I ran into a piece of metal. Poked me in the left eye, had all crazy stuff. I don't know how many surgeries I've had as a kid. Super traumatizing, you know what I mean? As a kid, you don't even know what traumatized means, really, but sure. You feel it. You feel the impact of what happens when something like that happens. Not only physically, but just emotionally. You know, I had to wear eye patches, and, you know, my eye would hurt all the time and things like that. So, you know, growing up already in the hood, then you got this eye surgery with the eye patches, and you know, with what I mentioned about the parents, it starts to get really,
for sure,
really tough.
Odds were stacked against you, man.
But it's crazy.
I mean, first of all, unbelievable story, and I think I am so touched by the fact that you say, like, I'm embarrassed. Not embarrassed. Sorry, I'm almost second guessing myself at times when it comes to sharing my story, because some people around me are saying not to, but then you kind of realize, man, what if someone can actually take away from this who hasn't heard it, right? Yes. And I'll share a bit about myself. So for me, I actually lost my father the same way. He passed away when I was 13. He committed suicide. And that's why when I heard your story, I was drawn to you right away, that I have to connect with you. I got to talk to you, right? So I want to talk about your upbringing a little bit. So you were born and raised in Philadelphia, but you grew up in an underserved community. Now, being in the hood, as you said it, a lot of kids, I mean, for them, it's normal to be in single-parent households and to not have a lot of funding and money around them and opportunities and even positive influences. And for you specifically, when it came to your upbringing and your surroundings, did you ever have times where you felt frustrated or resentment about your situation? Or was it just kind of normal life for you because all the kids around you kind of had something similar?
I was going to say earlier that it sometimes it did feel normal, you know what I mean? Because a lot of, when you walk outside, it's kind of like the same kind of deal. But I did have some friends of some of my uncles that had the 2-parent household, and I would go spend the night over their house, And it felt like like watching the Fresh Prince, like
Yeah.
go to with Uncle Phil. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm like, these guys got all the latest video games and all the newest clothes,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, yo, can I have that shirt? Can I have this? Like they probably like, man, when I'm thinking about it now, they probably like, man, don't ask Justin to come over. He gonna ask for something. You know what I mean? Me thinking it's like just normal for just to
Yeah.
ask for somebody's clothes, but man, it I always say like nowadays. I always say I was lucky
Mhm.
enough to not only experience the life that I experienced like firsthand with the lack of income and things like that,
Mhm.
but I'm happy that I got a chance to see so many different types of lifestyles. Because if you see one type of lifestyle, you'll kind of just accept that that's what it is. But luckily for me, I saw so many that I always had it in my mind that like I could get that one day. I don't know when, but I know what's
Mhm.
possible, and I just gotta be strong and not go the route of throwing that all away with going to jail and things like that.
Of course.
So
Yeah, I think different perspectives and obviously experiencing different walks of life makes you grateful for what you do have, and also can motivate you in ways of what you don't have you can try and achieve and work towards it.
for sure.
You mentioned obviously a bit of the teasing, and you can even say some bullying going on with you, having lost vision in your eye, and you mentioned you wore an eye patch. Was that due to just discomfort, or was that a bit of embarrassment about it, and you have to find your confidence to just embody and embrace who you are with your differences?
No, it was for health reasons.
Okay.
The craziest thing is I only wore it for a week or something maybe.
Yeah.
I refused. I would rather just walk around with my eye,
Yeah.
puffy or whatever, than to have an eye patch on. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like Captain
Fair.
Hook and all that came out at the time. I'm like, man, hell no, I'm not wearing the eye patch,
I
man.
love it.
But the craziest thing is they told me, the doctors said, if I just follow these instructions, wear the eye patch,
Hmm.
put the eye drops in, things like that, then there's a better chance at saving the vision,
Yeah.
because it was the surgeries that had to just heal the right way. And because of that, and that's kind of messed up, right? Because we care, especially young people care so much about what other people think,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
we would sacrifice our own health to fit in.
Hmm.
And you know what I mean. So I sacrificed my health in a sense to just not get teased and things like
For
that.
sure.
So and
Yeah,
I got
no.
teased anyway. So either way, it was just
Yeah,
like I
it's
might as
gonna
well.
happen regardless, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, growing up in the area you grew up in, there's obviously temptations at every corner, whether it be drugs, alcohol, violence, seeking validation and wanting to kind of, look cool to the other kids, your peers, or even older people. For you, what was the reason why you didn't lean into those different vices in your youth? How did you maneuver that? And did you have any influences that maybe guided you and helped you to stay away from it?
Are you? Can you repeat that? You
Yeah,
said
absolutely.
peer pressure,
So, in your
basically.
Yeah, who was a positive influence on you that led you not going down the wrong path is what I'm trying to say.
I got you. I got you. Man, I've had a lot of positive influences. My
Mhm.
grandmother, my aunt Cheryl, my uncle Curtis. He at least when I was younger, they always had me in church.
Mm.
Which is when I look at church, I look at it as something that just shows you community, gives
Mhm.
you certain like values and things like that. So that's what I got from being in church. It was like the community, the family, the learning how to pay attention to something for a long period of time, and things like that. So, and then television back in the day, me being an artist, I was always gravitated towards the thought provoking kind of content, and that content like always inspired me. And they always
Mhm.
had little messages in there like, don't do this, don't do that, and if you
Yep.
don't do drugs and things like that, you'll
Yep.
be able to be the best you can be. So in my mind, I'm like, all right. And then literally real life scenarios where I would see the results of what would happen if you went the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
again, like now, now I cut my own self off, but I will say no kid is perfect.
No.
Although we all strive to not go down the wrong path. Kids will be kids at the end of the day. We might experiment and throw a rock somewhere and think it's funny when it could, when it might not be funny to
Yep.
if it broke something, or sometimes the difference between a person that's in jail or has a messed up record and somebody else's is that maybe that other person just didn't get caught with it. Unfortunately, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even in not to kind of jump all over the place, but I was in a group home when I was in freshman and sophomore year of high school, and this was out in the suburbs. It was just like a whole new world, and the kids there in 10th grade, they were having like parties at the barn, drinking beer, drinking all types of things.
The whole different reality.
There was no cops around arresting them and rounding them up and ruining their whole life. But if a kid that's that same age in the hood drinking beer, the cop will round them up, put them away,
Absolutely,
and ruin their whole life.
Yeah.
So it's just like those stark differences is pretty wild to me. That's sort of about my point about not getting caught up in the law. Sometimes it's just where you're at, man.
And I think even being aware of the subconscious, right? How real that is, especially as a youth. Like you mentioned, you're watching TV and they're constantly saying it. This is how you end up if you go down the wrong path. Or even the people around you, your environment, you're seeing the results firsthand of what happens when you go down the wrong path, when you get a record or you go down the path of going towards drugs. You don't want to end up like that. So
for sure. You have to be really, you have to, that's the thing, is like, you could easily point and say like, well, how come they got away with it and I can't? You could say that, but that's still not going to change the fact that that's just how it is, which is unfortunate. So even knowing that, you have to be mindful of that before you do whatever you do, because the rules aren't the same everywhere, and that's anything. You play one video game, the rules is one way. You play another, you change the settings, the rules is different. So you always got to be a grown up. You always should be aware of the rules of the game. You know what I mean, and move accordingly to that.
Absolutely, can't agree more. Especially being born, at a disadvantage, or whether it be, your surroundings, and you have to act based off the color of your skin. Example, like for you, in an environment where it's lower income community, police can be a little more corrupt and things can be going on. They can ruin your life. Whereas you mentioned in the suburbs at a party, these kids can do what they want, and the cops can say, hey, and they know them by first name and stuff like that. So it's sad, but it's reality, and you got to maneuver and work with what you can. And obviously here, giving you the tools to know how to maneuver and be better equipped and how to deal with it. So
for sure.
That's now art was obviously an outlet for you in your teenage years, but would you say it worked for you as a form of therapy?
Yes, just all throughout my years, art was with me. Just it, subconsciously, maybe I was always up for a challenge, one way or another, and so and human nature is you'll pick what you're best at to challenge somebody with. You know what I mean? Usually. So I was always trying to compete with people with art. Who was the best artist of the class and things like that. And subconsciously, that made me, a stronger, more developed person. Because if one person said, that person's better than me, I would go into practice for, until I got better. I'll go back every day. Like, am I better? Am I better now? And so art was definitely a form of therapy. It made me feel like I had a purpose. The class would come around and gather around and look at what I was doing, and that kind of worked its way all the way up until my adulthood, in a sense. Anytime I do even art shows, right, it's like you do something and people gather around to see what you do.
I've seen it firsthand. I want to get into that a little later on. Right now I want to go into, let's talk about your 20s. So you're working at American Airlines as a fleet service agent. So you worked in baggage, you were underground, kind of moving around the baggage and everything. Now, during this time, you kind of took a bit of a step back from art, made it more of a hobby rather than like a pursuit of a career. Now, I want to ask you, before the transitioning to pursuing art full time, were you at peace with this job? Or for you, did you always know in your heart, okay, I'm going to do art one day, that's going to be my path?
So interesting enough, when I graduated high school, my dream was to go to this prestigious art college that was in Philly called Tyler School of Art. But just how I mentioned, just my I was always jumping around, group homes, things like that during high school. That I never really had the discipline to stay focused on like doing homework and things like that. I never
Mm.
was a fan of homework, but I was smart, I believe. So I would always get good grades on a test,
Yeah.
and not really realizing that you needed to do all of that for
Mm.
like colleges and things like that to kind of see your progress over the years. And I always say this, like I used to always think college was just like high school. You just go to college,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
and it,
natural. It's the transition, right?
and you just whatever college you apply, they'll all send you
Yeah,
acceptance
yeah.
letters, and you just pick whatever one. Like I'm just living in this delusional world, and I didn't really have anybody really emphasizing
Yeah.
how that wasn't the case.
Mm.
So they was like, "No, your art is really great." I actually got a in advanced placement art in high school. They actually had an advanced
Wow.
placement art I went to high school called West Catholic. I graduated from there, so I had advanced placement art, where you even had to send out art pieces to get judged by like a panel, and
Hmm.
then they would send it back and grade you on that. And it was like I can't remember the rating system, but I did really well on it. So like
Awesome.
I'm like bet I'm going to get into this college because I did
Yeah.
good in the art. It's an art college, and I did really well in the art part of it. But they were like, no, we need to see it in everything.
Yeah.
So I went to community. So they told me to go to community college and go there for 2 years and then transfer over after that if I do well. Went to community, and man, I always say it felt like the 13th grade.
Mm.
It just felt like I was in high school
Yeah.
all over again. When I had these dreams of like going on campus, and so because of that, after that first semester, one semester, I just kind of like quit. I was like, nah, maybe art's not for me. I kind of messed that
Wow.
up. So I actually would draw here and there.
Hmm.
After that, just like here and there, like I said. And I used to work at this sporting apparel shop called Total Sport, and it was like one of the biggest throwback jersey fitted hat
Okay.
shops in the world actually. All the celebrities would come out there and buy their jerseys. I met so many celebrities just them coming in to buy a hat.
Mm.
Um, and I remember one time I had a drawing of Allen Iverson. I know he autographed it. I remember Bernard Hopkins came in there one time and used to always ask me, because the manager at the time was like, told Bernard Hopkins I could draw. And he was like, man, draw me something, I'll show love. And this was before social media and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of course.
But he was like, this was 2000 and maybe 2002, something like that.
Okay.
So he's like, show love, I'll show you love. And I never did the drawing. He would come in there every other week
Wow.
or every couple months, and he asking me for it, and
Mm.
I never did it. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, I'm like crazy. But then I never took it serious anymore
Yeah.
after I like lost that passion in college, going to college. So I gave up on it for about 6 years, and
Mm.
even in the airline, I wasn't even doing it for the first couple of years of me working at the airline. So
Yeah.
I started working at the airline in like 2007. But I was traveling the world. Like the first week, they told me at the airline, we could, airlines you could fly for free.
Hmm.
So
When you work for them.
when you work for
Yeah.
them, you can fly for free. So but they tell you don't fly when you're on probation because if you
Okay.
can't make it, because it's like basically standby, and if you can't make it back on standby, if you can't make it back to work, you'll get fired because you're not a part of the union yet.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
basically, like if you're part of the union, you can call out, say, I'm sick or something. I don't know why. As long as you're not flying in the air on the clock, you can call out while you're there and say like I'm sick or whatever. So they was like, don't fly out until you get off of probation. But the week I got hired, I flew out because I was like, that was like my first time getting on an airplane. So I was like, man, I got this job. That's part of the reason why I wanted to get it is to
That's the
fly.
perk. That's what you hear.
And luckily, nothing happened. But I swear, flying like changed my life because I
Yeah.
was already inquisitive and wanted to explore and see the
Hmm.
world. So I took full advantage of that. And for those first couple years, for all those years I wasn't drawing, I was traveling and I was
Hmm.
like meeting people. I was like developing my own self.
Yeah.
So that was very much needed. and I was really happy with that job for that reason, and just the community that the airline has,
Mm-hmm.
just between the, the coworkers end up becoming like your extended family.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
absolutely.
see them more than you see anybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
And last thing is that yeah, man, that changed my life.
For
And then
sure.
one day,
And then, and wait, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. In 2009, you're in the break room at work, and I don't know what it is. I did my research. So,
yeah.
you made a promise to yourself, and you said, I'm gonna take this seriously now.
Hmm.
Obviously, now having all these years of experience to go around the world, experience different cultures, meet people. What made that moment happen? What made that aha moment to be like, you know what, I can take this serious. I can pursue this.
So one of the things is in 2009 I went to Cancun,
Okay.
and that was almost like a ritual at that point. I was going to Cancun like every year, maybe multiple times a year. And that one time I brought back a photo of me with like a cigar or something, and I printed it out. At that time you could go to the whatever Rite Aid or something, print it out at the
Yeah.
photo shop. So I had the actual physical photo with me in a break room, and when I just decided to get a piece of paper from the printer or something and just start sketching it out.
Mm.
That's when all the coworkers started gathering around. I was like, man, I didn't even know you could
The
draw.
same thing from your youth. That's so cool.
And they was like,
Wow.
exactly. And I'm like, they like, I didn't know you could draw. And I'm like, yeah, I used to, I could do a little bit, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And they were kind of surprised by that. And they were like, man, you should, what you doing? You should do something with that.
Yeah.
And that's about that. I used to hear that all the time, even from like old classmates. They were like, are you doing anything with the art? And I was like, nah. They're like, man, I remember when you used to draw.
Hmm.
And so, you start to hear that. Like, I remember when you used to. I remember
Yeah.
that starts to kind of like sit with you. Like, man, like, why can't I still, like, I can still do it, but like, why am I not doing it? So I had an epiphany one day, sitting in a break room. I was always a big reader. I am still a big reader, but I always was a
Hmm.
big reader. Certain books always kind of fed my mind a certain kind of mindset. So, and I used to always seek out motivational quotes and videos from successful people,
Yeah.
just like feed my mind with that. So that might have planted a seed in my mind, because one day I was in a break room and I saw a coworker who might have been at the job for 30 years, let's say.
Mm.
And I used to watch this guy, and he would come down every time around the same time, sit in a break room with like a bag of Chick-fil-A and watch the TV.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, this guy's like, was me 30 years ago. Not me 30 years ago, but he was a young guy who was, might have had plans or whatever. But, 30 years later, he's hit same place I am right now, but doing the same thing, Chick-fil-A. And I'm just like, man, do I want my life to be
that.
no offense to the, what I mean?
No,
Because
of
he's a
course.
worker, the job is great. And if he got to take care of his family, so there's nothing wrong with it. So I don't want to kind of make it seem like it was something, but I felt like I was meant to do more than just that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I didn't want to have downtime to the where I couldn't really do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that's when I made a decision to like start doing art. And
Yeah. And then not long after that, a friend reached out to you who's actually opened up a kindergarten. And he says, hey, man, like, I know you're into art. And it was new for you because you're not so familiar with paint at this time, right? You were more watching sketch artists and doing everything with pencil.
Sure.
And a friend reaches out to you and says, hey, I want you to paint my kindergarten windows, my business's windows. Now, you go home. You agree to it. You go home and you Google and you type how to paint kindergarten windows.
Yes.
Because you just don't have experience with it, right? You don't know what you're doing. For you, what did that moment mean to you to have someone reach out to you and ask to pay you for the work? And then also, why did you agree to do something you didn't necessarily were prepared for?
That's
Making that leap, that's it could be scary, right? So that leap, talk about that.
For sure. So actually, the guy who asked me that was my barber at the time. So
Okay.
I already had a relationship with him for a pretty long time. So obviously, barbers are low key like therapist. It's not necessarily a therapist, but somebody you
Sure.
can just talk to, like
Yeah.
whatever's going on in your life. You're like telling them, why you're getting a haircut, and you're showing them the new artwork you're doing. And at that time, I was really once I made that promise, I was all anything art really. Like I said, in the break room, it was no more downtime. Although before I was reading, now I was drawing in the break rooms, and everybody was
Yeah.
gathering around watching me draw left and right. So around that time, I was just full into art that everybody knew it. And he asked me one day about that. He was like, I see you do all these drawings. Can you paint? And he asked me about the painting on the windows. And no, he actually asked me to paint on the wall.
Okay.
And then maybe the windows too, but it was really the wall.
Okay.
Or you know what? It was the windows. It was, but I did paint the wall and the windows
As well.
of his
Yeah.
daycare. And that's when he asked me, and I said, yeah, I could do it. And he was like, all right, come Monday. And then I YouTubed it, how to do it. And I always felt like with art, the hardest thing is just like transitioning into like a new medium, like understanding how it works. But once you understand it, it's almost like if you're an artist, I feel like a real artist could do it because it's like in you to just be artistic. I don't know how to explain it. And especially if you could draw, I feel like if you could draw, you could paint.
Yeah.
It's not the same
You
thing.
got to feel for it. You got to feel for it, right?
Yeah, it's not the same thing, but the principles are similar. And once you understand the principles to certain things, you can transition it into anything.
Wow.
So I never felt like it would be a really tough of a challenge to paint, especially cartoon characters, where you see it and it's just like solid colors everywhere and shapes.
Yeah.
So if he said, could you paint Jay-Z on a window, I might have been like, I'll talk to you in like 2 years, 3 years, but he asked for like cartoon characters, so I was like, I could do it.
Yeah.
And I grew up coloring and things like that, so
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then I'll fast forward a little bit further. So growing up in Philadelphia, I mean, you got a network within your grasp already, and you have a mutual friend with Kevin Hart. His name is Brian. Now, before we talk about the entire story with that, I want to start with the significance of Brian and how important is it for you to have someone. You even mentioned your manager earlier when you work at the shop with the jerseys and the sportswear. You had someone uplifting you and encouraging you to try stuff. Talk about the importance of having someone like that. As someone who's ambitious, how important is it to have a friend like that to try and push you during those moments?
Let me think. So to answer your question, it's really important to have people push you, because sometimes you don't really know how far you can go until you're pushed. And that's like a literal thing to think about. Like if somebody pushes you, you're literally going to go further than if you just walked one step. Like if I tell you to take a step and you take that step and I'll push you, you're going to go further. So that's actually a perfect way to look at it. What pushing someone means. It just means that they want to see you go further, or they believe that you can go further. So in that sense, I do agree that we need those kind of people to help propel us, or sometimes pushing actually might come in the form of criticism, but it's all art. It's an art to criticism. It's an art to pushing. But the manager, I wouldn't consider him. I wouldn't say he pushed me, but I would say he
encouraged and he tried to
do something to facilitate something in me. So I appreciate it for that. Brian, so he knows Wayne. Well, Wayne is they all kind of came up in the same area. I always knew Brian could get the Kev.
Yes.
But the craziest thing about that story is, Brian used to always say like I could get it to Kev. So I might have told this somewhere else too that
I can actually help you with this one. So in 2014, you actually got a T-shirt that you painted on, you got that to Kev, right?
Yes.
So you shot your shot. Unfortunately, you didn't get any feedback. Things didn't necessarily pan out. Then a couple years later, 3 years later to be specific, Brian and you connected again, and he says, "Hey, let's try it again." And by this time, you didn't get so discouraged from that. I won't say rejection, but you didn't get much feedback on the initial attempt with the T-shirt. You then decided to make art for him. You actually made a canvas for him, and he loved it so much that he gave you a shout out, right? My question to you is, the first time when you shot your shot, you don't get any feedback. Obviously, you just didn't have enough experience yet. How discouraging was that for you in that moment? And did you ever have a time where you felt like quitting, or were you full on head down committed? I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I was full on head down committed.
I love it.
I even then when I saw Brian again and we kind of finally made it happen, he used to always say, you know, I could get it to Kev, right? Because he kind of started to see me getting way better. And he always kind of like threw that out there. And I remember me saying, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
Because I took into consideration that, okay, so, you know, it's almost like reconnaissance where you kind of like throw some out there, see what happens, and get the information and then kind of work a plan from there. So when I did that the first time, I was like, okay, no response, no reaction. Maybe it's not like, because if it was good, I would have got a phone call or something. You know what I mean? In my mind, I'm like, somebody would have hit me up and said, you know, I need more, or give me another one. So in my mind, some things is like you don't even have to ask. Yeah. You can kind of just read the room in a sense.
Absolutely.
So at that time, I was always doing different things, trying different things. So that didn't discourage me. I was preparing for the next time that I had a big opportunity that I would be ready for it. So
to which it came.
And the craziest thing is there was a guy that ran this like really big hip hop website back in the early 2010s, early 2000s as well. And I remember he asked me, luckily for me, he reached out to me. Actually, one of the guys who worked for that company, I did a picture of the owner's kids for his like a birthday gift or something. So he saw that drawing and then reached out to me and asked me, could I create like a logo, or like not even a logo, like a big giant painting or portrait of this idea that he had. And he was like, oh, I want it to look like this and somebody doing this. And I'm on the phone with him like, I can't do that. I didn't say it to him, but I'm hearing him and I'm like, I'm up here drawing like single person drawings. I'm not drawing these like complex. So when I'm on the phone with him, and then I'm like, yo, I was like, if I knew how to paint, even in my mind, I'm like, if I knew how to paint, I probably could do it. Like if I knew how to paint more than just characters, I could do it. But so that was like a wake up call to me as well. Like, you know, you need to hurry up and get into painting.
Yeah.
Because it's not impossible, but it would just be the way I used to draw. It's painstakingly time consuming to draw in detail and to do a lot of people. So that's why I said I knew I wasn't going to be able to do. So I was like, I got to teach myself how to paint. Yeah. And then I would eventually teach myself how to do these large, complex.
Yeah. So it's hilarious hearing you say this story, looking at your art now, how far you've come with all the practice and the repetition. It's like, it's so funny to me to hear that, because I remember seeing your work in person. I'm like, what the heck? Like it's crazy. It's
literally these life-changing conversations that really had altered what made me do what I do now. It's because of these, like, anytime somebody said I couldn't do something, anytime somebody said, oh, it's hard to paint with acrylic paint, or usually people don't draw hair this way because it's hard, or, you know, people don't do hands. Anytime I heard that, I was like, okay, well, that's them, and I'm me, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna perfect it. I'll draw there were times when I wasn't good at drawing hands and feet the right way, but I kept doing it until I got it right.
Yeah.
I didn't just throw it away and say, oh, it's not for me. I just practiced more, called up people that I knew, like, you know, artists or whatever, you know, reached out to people and they would give me pointers, and those pointers helped me get better. And then I, you know what I mean?
And it's all repetition and practice, right? And again, you mentioned that people are telling you this is not the way to do this, or this is difficult, maybe trying to avoid it, but you said, no, I'm gonna take the challenge head on, and I'm gonna do it my way, and you figured it out. So that's unbelievable, man. I want to take a quick second to thank today's sponsor, Nobody. However, if you're a brand, business, or service, and you want to promote what you have going on my platform, you can send me a message on Instagram at willpower.podcast, or send me an email, which can be found in the description down below. And please enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah. I'm a big basketball guy, and after the Kevin Hart shout out, you actually got connected with Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah. So my first question with that is, I mean, you got this opportunity with Kevin Hart. He gives you the shout out. Now things are really happening. Things are in motion. You're getting a bunch of followers, recognition. People are seeing the greatness in your work.
Yes.
How does that feel? And then I have to ask you, selfishly, obviously, meeting Shaquille O'Neal in person, how cool was that for you?
Meeting Shaq in person was really dope.
Yeah.
Definitely surreal was like I always say it's like going down the escalator and, somebody holding the sign up with your name on it.
Yeah.
Go meet him at I think his house or something was getting renovated, so he was at the Waldorf Astoria.
Okay.
So we ended up eating breakfast with him and just hanging out the whole day, Brian and I.
Wow.
But the craziest thing is, even before the Kev shout out, I was, I was always running into somebody epic, passing off my art. Like I ran into, 50 Cent,
Wow.
Amber Rose, Joe Budden at the time, the movie Get Out.
Yes.
Jordan Peele, they shouted me out a million times for doing artwork for them. They actually put one of my paintings in like one of their coffee table books.
Wow.
There were like art pages, like, at the time there was a page called like World of Pencils that was like really big, one of the really big art pages of the time. They posted my artwork on their page.
Wow.
So even before Kev shouted me out, I was already like
On your
20
way.
something, 30,000, like, it was like I was already trying to make the moves, and it just was compounded with Kev, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then so that was like a graduation moment for me. You know what I mean? Like hard work, all the hard work paying off. Kev recognizes the hard work. My friends, Brian, at the time, he didn't have to do that because he wasn't the only person at my job that knew that same group of people. But he was the only one that did that for me. You know what I mean? And that's big on just relationships in general. You know what I mean? Just building genuine friendships and showing up for people. That's why things like that happen. You know what I mean? Because it's more than just like, oh, you're talented, but it's like, how did we treat each other in general?
It takes a village. It takes a village. That's one of my favorite quotes. You can't do it by yourself, right? Like me getting here today to talk to you, it took a village for me to get to this point, right? So
Yes.
no, I love it. Now we'll talk about how you and I connected. So you and I meet in New York on Wall Street. We're at a business conference, and I mean, you walked in and you looked like a final boss in a video game. It was
Hilarious.
I couldn't believe it. It was nuts. And you had the headpiece on. You had the chest out, a crazy cool jacket. And I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you're gonna talk about. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? This is crazy, right? And man, you go on stage. And we talked about it earlier, your youth in your classroom, everybody is around you, gathering to you to look at the work you're doing. And then you're at work and working at American Airlines, and everybody's gathering and looking at your work. Couldn't believe your work that you do.
Yes.
Then you're at this conference, and you get on stage, and you share a poem, you share your story, and then you reveal one of your pieces, which I'll place on the screen as well. And I had goosebumps. It was unbelievable. And at the end of it, I remember standing up and clapping, and everybody else started standing up, and it was a beautiful moment. Now, my question to you is, for you to get so comfortable to walk into an environment that isn't art, again, this is a business conference, and you're completely out of left field coming into this to network with people and present your art. For you to control the room the way that you did with the confidence you had, did that take a lot of practice? Was that something, the confidence you already had in your youth? Talk about that first.
So I believe it. I appreciate
Absolutely, man, of
final
course.
boss and all that
I got you.
I always say like what happened with me maybe is one day I might have just had an awakening in a sense of like F the rules and not F the rules. Don't say that. The rules of like trying to fit in, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's always it's an art to everything, like I mentioned earlier. So it's like you just got to be mindful whatever you do. Don't be so much of an outsider that you kind of block your blessings in a sense. But one day I just was like, I want to be a total person. I want to be good at speaking to people. I want to be good at presenting my art. I want to be good at a lot of things. And the only way to do that is to have it become natural. And the only way for it to become natural is you just got to do it all the time. You got to believe, you got to know it, you got to just embody it to the sense where like you really think this is you. Like in the beginning, it will become you, but you got to kind of
Manifest it.
in order to do that, you gotta have tough conversations with people. You gotta.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem one time. You heard it at the thing. Imagine, right? So
Yeah.
when I wrote that, when I wrote it and then started to memorize it, I memorized it on purpose because I said I want to say it out loud in front of people.
Mm.
And this was 2009. I remember one time I just went to this like open mic in the middle of the hood, like it's like an open mic, people that going out listening to spoken word poetry,
Yeah.
and I just was like, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna just say my poem in front of these people. And obviously, this is the first time I said it, so it wasn't quite refined, but I still did it, and people actually clapped, and I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And I felt like that was
Powerful.
that sent something through me to like want to do it again. And then unfortunately, my grandma passed away in 2012, and I wrote a letter to her at her funeral, and I read that in front of everybody.
Wow.
And that was well received.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is, when I was a kid at church, they used to try to have me pray out loud in front of the church, and I would do it, and I would mess up. I would be trying to think of all the other kids that prayed. And
What do you call it? Cotton mouth, when your mouth gets all dry and your chin is shaky, and
I was freestyling. I was trying to think of every kid that I heard prayed before and like say everything they said, because I remember like, oh, this kid said that, so in the crowd was like, oh yes, thank. So I'm like trying to say what the kids said, and I didn't hear nothing back, and I'm just like, okay. So as maybe that was like something that stuck with me. So when I got older, I was like, I'm gonna just walk this path of life and just try to be the best version of me that I can be, and realize that everybody in any room that I'm ever going to be in is a person just like me that deals with their own. They might have a degree, or they might be an expert in finance or whatever, but I've learned that if you focus so much on one thing, a lot of other things you might miss.
Yeah.
So just because you're an expert at finance, or you're expert at whatever, you might not. You might have no clue of empathy, philosophy, or certain other things. So I don't get intimidated by people, because we're all people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's basically one thing that helps me is like walking in knowing that we're all here trying experiencing each other.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing. Now, while at this conference, I got to see your number one supporter. I got to see your wife, right? And while you're on stage, I kind of look around and I see her recording you, and she's smiling, she's beaming. It was unbelievable to see that. And I want to ask you, what makes a successful and happy marriage?
So we just got married February 2nd, 2525. Yeah. Thank you. It might be too early to talk about that.
No, absolutely not. No. You're the honeymoon phase. I get that for sure, but I mean, even just as a relationship, like we're talking to the next generation, the young men, young women that are getting married. What makes it work for you in the relationship and the marriage as well?
It's kind of funny because me and my wife, we were just talking about the concept of marriage anyway, and marriage really is a union between two individuals that say like, we're going to go on this ride together, we're going to go on this journey together through the ups and the downs. Like you're my partner through this, but beyond partner. But so marriage is. So sometimes I'll say like, we were married the day we met each other. Like we didn't say we were, but we talked every day. We had our fights and things, and in that moment you might be upset, but then later down the line you're like, oh, I love this lady. You know what I mean? So like the you asked me what the keys to a successful marriage are, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to get caught up in my own.
You're good. Don't worry.
Just
tell me, like, why? I mean, you said it in itself. Like, when you guys had that connection. You guys have that friendship. Like, I mean, the way she was shining, watching you on stage, that smile she had wasn't even just as a partner. She's happy for you. It was as a friend to see you take this opportunity head on, and you killed it. You knocked it out the park, and it was just. That's what you need. You need a supporter. You need someone. I don't want to answer the question for you, obviously, but that's what I
Yeah.
can tell from what your answer and what I saw firsthand is
Yeah.
you need someone that can genuinely be happy and help uplift you through your successful times, and even the down times uplift you as well. Like you mentioned, you guys are fighting sometimes. You got to come through that together, but understand you guys are binded and attached, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Super, I think it's communication, like really
Yes.
big on talking things out, even, I don't know about other guys, but me, sometimes it might take me a while to not necessarily calm down, but to like talk about it.
Yes.
I have to like sit in it for a little bit. And
Yeah.
you got to realize with somebody like me, all that I've been through in a sense,
Hmm.
I have to like analyze everything and think about
Yep.
the role I played and like just a whole bunch of things before I can kind of just talk right about certain things.
For sure.
So once people start to understand each other, once the people in the relationship understand like, okay, it's not the right time, like that kind of understanding really helps, because now you guys are like become more and more on the same page. And just it's so many I bro, I'm like losing my train of thought. Every time I think of like
You're good. You gave me the answer. I love it.
yeah, because I
I
know I
want to be
can talk
mind.
just for like an hour. This relationship, I'm about to
I
go
love it.
home. Yeah.
I love it. I want to be mindful of your time, of course, because I know you're working right now. You have an upcoming event. I want to finish off with some quick hitters.
Yeah.
So we'll try and keep the answers quite condensed to the point where, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, right?
Got it.
So my number one question is, why does the 1% of wealth invest in art?
That's interesting. Why do they do it?
Correct, yeah.
I believe some of that 1% actually love art,
Hmm.
and then some of that 1% know that it's an investment that could,
Hmm.
or a tool that could be used to further help their finances,
Yeah, makes
so to
sense.
speak. Yeah.
When passion meets business, people often lose their passion, right? So, for example, like for me, I work in basketball. I love basketball for what it is. Then the business side comes in, and I could kind of lose my love for it, right? You hear it a lot in the NBA.
Mm.
For you, what do you feel about the business of art?
Yeah, so that there are two different things. But
Yeah.
the craziest thing is, I think passion is its own thing.
Mm.
Like talent is a thing, and I think
Yes.
passion is a thing. So
Yeah.
somebody could be talented and have no passion,
Yeah.
but if you have the passion, you can convert that into different things. And if you have true passion, it wouldn't burn out. Like it wouldn't burn. You could burn out for a certain thing,
Of
but I
course.
think the passion is like the gas that keeps you going.
Yeah. Agreed.
So
I love
so
it.
as far as business and art, man, to learn the business, so that a lot of artists do need to learn that it is a business to art.
Hmm.
Like if you want to, so the term professional artist means you're selling your artwork.
Hmm.
To be an artist is, we're all kind of artists, but to be a professional with that word in the front means that you have a business with your art. So if you consider yourself a professional artist, you have to learn the business of it,
Yeah.
and prepare for whatever that comes with it. That you might have to bend the artistic rules a little bit and things like that. But if you do it right, it just makes you and everything else a little bit better. So
Hmm. I don't actually have this one written down. I'm just thinking of it now as you're saying that. But like, what advice would you give to that? Let's say that 16-year-old that has that passion like you had when you were 16 and wanting to get into the business of art, become a professional artist. What advice would you have for them going into the business world side of it?
basically, what I did things that I loved to do, and then just found people who loved the things that I did, in a
Okay.
sense. So even when I was first, sorry,
You're good.
even when I was first starting with art, I would ask people like, "Oh, I'll draw your son for $50."
Mm.
And they were like, "Okay, I'll draw the son, get the $50." This was when I was at the airline, you know what I mean? Or give me $100, I'll paint whatever you want on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So I was having fun painting, and I was making money. So it's
Yeah.
simple as that. That's business and art mixed. And
Yep.
then now all you got to do is how to learn it. All you know now
How
you
to
have to do
scale
is
it and
learn how
grow
to.
it, and obviously build
How
your
to
network, right?
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. One book and one movie recommendation.
One book recommendation, I will say, For the general popular, I'll say The Alchemist
Okay.
is a good book, and The Matrix is
Okay. Good choices. I love
my
it.
favorite. I love
And
it.
then with every podcast I do, I ask my guests all the questions, but I want to give my guests a chance to ask me a question. Should you have any? Fire away.
You put me on the spot with a
Yeah,
question.
fair. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself this time next year? What do you see yourself
Wow.
doing this time next year?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for me, my passion and my drive is helping the next generation, helping the youth, and basketball is a big part of that. It's the vehicle to get to that point. So
Yeah.
in a dream world, basketball would be what I'm doing full time, and being in that realm, helping kids, helping the next generation. In regards to the podcast, I mean, for me, this isn't my passion, but I love to learn and I love to meet cool people like you and reach out and get a chance to get to know you.
Yeah,
And obviously document it and put it online for kids to have that as a resource.
for sure.
So for me next year, I mean, I could be continuing this. I could be doing basketball full time. I don't know. I can't. I always set goals, and I know I can achieve anything when I put my mind to it. But to say that I know I'm going to be in a year, considering that a year ago I would have never thought I'd be sitting here with you, interviewing you, getting to know you. Like, it's crazy how life works like that, right? So
Exactly.
in a dream world, I'm doing basketball a lot, and I'm helping the next generation, just continuing to grow and elevate myself day over the next 365. That's the hope.
That's fire.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, we like you said, we never know what's going to happen. We could have these
Exactly.
plans, and yeah. I can see
Yeah.
you do. I mean, LeBron's doing podcasting, so
He
if he
is.
can play ball and be all NBA and still do a podcast, you could do it too.
I
So,
could do it too, 100%.
for sure,
So
yeah.
with that, I want to thank, obviously, Justin Wadlington, known as Blind Eye Artist. You have an Amazon Prime documentary that people can go and check out that can be found in the description down below. You can go on blindeyevisions.com to buy some of your original pieces and some prints as well. All of them are signed and also numbered. There's actually a deal going on. So when this gets uploaded, there will be 1 week left. 50% off all canvas prints for the month of August. Again, found in the description below. You can obviously follow you on social media platforms. Everything in the description below. Please, highly recommend you check out the documentary, check out his work, check him out in general. Just keep up to date with him in the social media. And obviously, Justin, I mean, I want to thank you for that day in New York. You know, after your presentation, to give me the time to actually talk to me. Obviously, following up and agreeing to be here, giving me your time today, and just continuing to share your story again and again and again, knowing that it's going to continue to hit a wider demographic and a wider market of people, of listeners that are going to take away so much value and inspiration from it.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man.
The one last thing, like I've been working on this exhibition for the Gracie Mansion.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Bro, I've been painting all year, like every day.
Yeah.
Like even now, I'm about to go paint all day today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I look like Moses right now. I'm just like, I'm like grinding away, man. So it's an honor to be on here with you, man, and for you
Thank you, man.
to invite me here. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely,
I
man.
hope that anybody that you wish to hear this, I hope it reaches everybody and they get
Absolutely.
something from this.
Thank you, man. So with that, I conclude episode 6 of the Willpower Podcast. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and find all of Justin's information in the description down below. And hope you have a great day.
Peace.